There is one new poll from this weekend, which, if accurate, could mean an absolute blowout win for Kamala Harris and a devastating landslide loss for Donald Trump. Now, as is always the case, we always contextually analyze polling. But let me tell you what's going on, and then we will see what we think. The Des Moines Register poll, carried out by J. Ann Seltzer, finds that Kamala Harris is winning by 3 in the state of Iowa. Iowa was considered lost for Harris. Iowa is not considered a battleground state. We have polling from Iowa previously where Trump was winning by 8 or even 10. And in this new poll, 47 to 44, Kamala Harris is leading Donald Trump in Iowa. I don't want this story about the Seltzer poll to become an adjudication of seltzer versus sparkling water versus club soda. Does club soda always have some sodium? Does it not? Is it bubble size that distinguishes sparkling water from seltzer? What exactly is it that sparkles? Very suspicious. That's not what this is about. This is simply about, if it is even close in Iowa, it's probably a disaster for Donald Trump. Now let's take a look at the track record of Seltzer over time. Seltzer has never been off by more than 5. Now, let's talk about that in context. As you can see here, looking at Senate and presidential past predictions, you find that often Seltzer is right on the money. The year in which Seltzer was off by the most was 2018 for governor, where Seltzer said the Democrat was leading by 2, and it turned out that the Republican won by 3. If we assume that Seltzer is off by 5 here, that would mean that rather than winning by 3, Kamala Harris is losing by 2. If Kamala Harris only loses Iowa by 2, it would mean that almost certainly Harris wins the vast majority of the swing states, because these do tend to move in parallel. Now, before I even deepen the analysis, if there's any doubt as, should I vote? If Kamala's winning Iowa, do I still need to vote? Yes, we all still need to vote. Doesn't change anything about that. But what this shows, and when you look at some of the internals of the poll, you find that independent women, older women, late deciding women, they all seem to be breaking for Kamala Harris if we believe this poll. How could this poll find something different than the other polls? And the explanation is herding. Not herding the cats, herding the dogs. What I mean is herding, H-E-R-D. There are reports that pollsters are getting results, and when they compare their results to the average of results, they go, I have a poll that's an outlier. Let me renormalize. Let me remove the outliers. And what this does is it herds all the polls in a sort of self-fulfilling vicious cycle to look very similar to each other. If it is true that women are breaking towards Harris at numbers previously not acknowledged in polls, if it is indeed true that voters of certain age brackets are actually leaning towards Harris more than pollsters are ready to admit, what the polls would show is a consensus, because they're trying to copy each other, that does not reflect reality. So what does this now mean in terms of tomorrow? Well, if it is true that Harris will either win Iowa by 1, 2, or 3, or lose it by 1 or 2, that means that there has been a leftward swing of potentially as many as 13 points. Now, that's the max, right? If you go from Trump winning Iowa by 10 to Harris by 3, that would be a 13-point swing. That's the maximum outside number. It's a fantasy. It's not going to be that big. But the point is, if there has been a swing towards Harris that is significant, then Michigan and Wisconsin certainly go to Harris. Pennsylvania probably does. Georgia probably does. Nevada, Arizona almost certainly do. There are people talking about Florida for Harris. Here's the key word, if Iowa really looks the way that Seltzer says Iowa looks. So we're going to be watching it very closely. If it's even close to true, we'll know by 10 or 11 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, because the results in so many states are going to reflect something closer to this than what Trump claims is going on. If you stay on top of the news, you follow politics and elections, why not win cash for it? Manifold is the app and website where you can win cash for predicting what will happen next in politics, and it is free to play. Questions like, will Trump win the presidential election? Will Kamala Harris flip a state? Will political commentator Destiny appear on Joe Rogan's podcast? If you predict correctly, you win play money called Mana or Sweep Cash. One Sweep Cash is redeemable for a US dollar. So if you predict right, you can turn it into cash. And the platform gives you free Mana and Sweep Cash to play with every single day. Go to manifold.markets/Pacman and you'll get free extra Sweep Cash just for signing up to start you on your journey. No purchase necessary to win cash or prizes. If you want to go bigger, you can use my link to get 40 extra Sweep Cash when you spend $20 on Mana. If you put that 40 Sweep Cash on Trump losing the election at the current odds, you win 70 Sweep Cash if he loses, redeemable for $70 cash. You must be a U.S. resident, 18 or older. See terms and conditions. The link is in the description.